Today, I'm going to show you the 3 strategies we use that will increase this couple's net worth by over $2.4 million through the rest of their lives. And the best part, you'll be able to use these exact same strategies to build up your own net worth as well. Meet Peter and Lindsey. At 45, they're thriving in their careers. Peter is a pilot and earning $175,000 per year, and Lindsey is in management and earns $125,000. They've both been diligent savers, and we're going to walk through their plan today to kind of show what they were doing before and the things that we plan for them to do going forward. When Peter and Lindsey came to see us, we had noticed that they had been diligently saving. They had money in their 401ks, collecting the employer match, and they were also saving to their joint account. Now, this is important. This is an after-tax account, but what we noticed is they weren't investing it, so it wasn't growing over the years. And so we also noticed that they weren't saving to any tax-free accounts for the future, such as Roth IRAs or Roth 401ks. And so when we sat down and discussed what their goals were, a big one was they didn't want to pay too much in taxes. Another was they wanted to make sure that their lifestyle continued throughout the rest of their lives, even when they weren't working. And then finally, they wanted to make sure that they lived a comfortable retirement without the worry of running out of money. When we sat down and reviewed this with them, we discussed these after-tax accounts a little bit more in depth. And what we found was that by changing a few things of how they were saving their money, not necessarily saving more, but just how they were saving their money, we're able to hit their goals and get them to the place that they wanted to be. So we're going to walk through that today. So when we look at their retirement goal, obviously this is important that we work to save money, to grow it for retirement. When we looked at this, their current plan still looked pretty strong. 94% probability of success, ending with about $3 million in today's dollars. Okay. But when we did a few things that we're going to walk through, as you can see, we added about $2.4 million in tax advantage wealth over their lifetime by making some of these changes. So as we walked through, the number one thing that we looked at was that they're putting money into their taxable account, but they're not investing it. So the first thing we did is we built an investment plan for them to put this money to work. And as they're saving $2,000 a month or $24,000 a year, this is going into this investment account. The next thing that we did was we looked at Roth conversions and a plan to build these tax-free accounts. So we started with Peter's account, where we looked at what their tax budget was for the year and what they felt they could pay in taxes throughout the next 10 years. And what we came to was based on also changing from the tax-deferred traditional 401k contributions, we moved it to the after-tax Roth 401k contributions while also getting the match. Now that it's 2025, we can get the match into those Roth accounts from the employer. So if you have the ability to put into a Roth, this is something that you should probably look at. But so we started with $30,000 a year. We're going to try to inflate that through the years at 2 to 3% so that we're adding more and more to the Roth over the next 10 years for Peter. For Lindsey, we wanted to continue to do that over the 10 years after that. So we also are looking at $30,000 a year, starting at her age 55 through retirement at age 65. So we modeled those two Roth conversions for them while also putting money into the 401k. Now, Peter's maxing out his 401k, getting the biggest match that he can. Lindsey's putting in about 10% of her salary, or $12,500. So we're also going to try to get more money into this throughout the years as their income continues to grow. And so we're completely stopping putting money into the traditional 401k. And the main goal of this is Peter and Lindsey are still in the 24% tax bracket, even with their income at $300,000. Historically low rates in today's world, so we want to make sure that we're using as much of that as possible, but we also don't want to put them into a precarious situation where they feel like they can't pay the taxes to fund these Roth IRAs. So with all of this put into place, we also decided that we needed to find some way to diversify outside of just the traditional stock, bond, and cash marketplace. So we looked at what's called a life insurance retirement plan. A life insurance retirement plan is very simply a way to put money into a policy and pull money out via policy loans that is tax-free income for later in life. Very long-term strategy, you need to commit to it. But ultimately what we're going to do is we're going to move about $12,000 a year from their savings and their income that they make into this policy for the next 20 years. After that, we'll let it kind of cook for a year. And then when Lindsey turns 66, we'll be able to pull about $25,000, $30,000, depending on how the policy performs, tax-free every single year for at least the next 20 or the 20 years after that. So by adding all these things and basically not changing what they're saving, just changing where they're saving it, this is how we've been able to add this 2.4 million of tax advantage wealth at the end of their lifetimes. Now, a lot of people say, well, what do I need all that wealth at the end for? Well, everybody's plan is a little bit different. If we want to look at spending more during our lifetime, that's definitely a possibility. If we want to look at passing this money down to the next generation, that's definitely something that we can do in a more tax advantaged way. The main goal is taking advantage of these lower tax rates now so that in the future, we have the ability to kind of do what we want without paying a ton of taxes. The number one thing we always say is pay your fair share, don't leave a tip to the IRS. So the things that we can do now to take advantage of these very low tax brackets that we have, historically low, and the amount of money or the amount of income we can get in those brackets is very important. So we're going to kick this over to kind of show what this looks like from a cash flow perspective. So as they came in, we always like to model what they're currently doing. This gives us the ability to show the differences between taking certain strategies and putting them into action. So if we look at how they were currently saving in the 401ks, they had some Peter had some IRA money, and they're putting money into the 529 for their daughter, Kylie. We can see here, if we look down to 2044, this is their projected last year of working. Peter's a pilot, forced retirement at 65. So ultimately in here, you can see that their 401k balances are going to grow to over $4 million. Fantastic number. Net worth is 6.1, 6.2 million. But you can see in here that between the traditional IRA and the 401k, most of their money is there, meaning the IRS dictates how much and when we have to pull out of these tax-deferred plans. So ultimately in here, the IRS is really going to control the tax rate for us in retirement. What we want to look at is, again, adding these tax-free type of accounts, such as Roth IRAs, Roth 401ks, and life insurance retirement plans. And we want to look at what this does to retirement. So let's look at this proposed plan. Again, we're going to do conversions of about $30,000 a year over the next 20 years. Keep it within that 24% bracket and keep within their tax budget. But we're also going to continue to put into the taxable account and save money there. Okay, so you can see here in 2044, we're saving into the taxable, but the 401k, the traditional 401k balance is $3.5 million less. We've only got about $490,000 in there. Whereas the Roth 401k has about 2.3 million. We still have some money in the traditional IRA, and our Roth IRA balance we've been converting for 20 years is roughly 1.3 million as well. So you can see at retirement, our total net worth is much higher, about 400,000 higher, and this is essentially the savings of the tax. Okay? And you can see that cash value life insurance, that life insurance retirement plan has also built cash up. And if we want to at 66 start taking money from that in a tax-free environment, we definitely can. So you can see over that time, we're saving money. We're paying a little bit more in taxes now than we were before, but we see that our ending value of our portfolio at retirement is actually slightly higher, but also we have more tax advantaged assets such as Roth 401k, IRA. And so this is really helping drive their plan. Okay, and so we're going to switch over to what we call our Roth projection tool. This is a kind of a visualizer to show what we're talking about from a tax perspective. Okay. So in here, we can see this big orange line here in the middle. That is the 24 bracket. So we're trying to stay inside of that. The light color bar is our base case, meaning they're current if they were continuing to do what they want. You can see here that the base case, we've got about $30,000 more of income. That's the Roth conversion that we're doing. We do have to add that to our taxable income for the year and pay it at our marginal rates. So you can see through these 20 years, all of this, the Roth conversion case is always going to be a little bit higher from an income perspective. But the real magic of this is what happens after. So when we look back here at age 75, this is 75 is a year that they have to start pulling money out, called required minimum distribution. And you can see here the base case, again, current, how they were before they came in. They're going to have roughly $388,000 of income. A lot of this is coming from the IRA money that they have to distribute based on current IRA guidelines. Okay, so what we're doing is we're controlling the tax rate in the future without taking on too much tax now. And so this is a really good plan for them to show that, hey, over time, we're going to control that tax bracket in retirement to allow you to continue to live the lifestyle that you want now in the future. So when we look at this here, with this plan going out for 20 years, you can see that the projected difference in taxes paid is $442,000 less. So they're saving over $400,000 in taxes over their lifetime, but also creating a much better tax advantage wealth for either more income in retirement or passing down that legacy to the future. Any IRA monies that are left, they also mentioned that they were slightly charitably inclined and that they think that that might become something more that they want to do as they get older and build their wealth. We can also take those IRA assets and contribute those to charity as well, and that will help reduce their required minimum distributions in the future. So when we look at this here, something that is really important to us from a tax planning standpoint is the cost of Medicare. Medical costs are skyrocketing and have been for years. And so when your income is really high in retirement, you're going to pay more in Medicare premiums, Medicare Part B and D. And this is called IRMAA, or Income Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. And this basically is means testing. The more money you make, the more you're going to pay in Medicare premiums. So by taking advantage of these Roth conversions and adding to the after-tax Roth accounts that grow tax-free, instead of the traditional, we're going to save them a lot of money in these income-related monthly adjustment amounts to the tune of about $125,000 over their lifetime. That's all money that goes back into their pocket and they can use again to spend on the things they want to continue their lifestyle in retirement or build that for an inheritance in the future. Okay. The next thing that we want to look at is those required minimum distributions. Again, for their age, they're born after 1960. At age 75, they are forced, mandated by the IRS to pull money out of these accounts. And we can kind of sit here and see if they continue to do what they were doing, they're looking at huge amounts of money that have to come out of these accounts when they hit 75. First is if we look at the conversion and doing these tax-free accounts, that amount drops drastically. So, and you can see it just continues to grow and grow and grow throughout retirement for them. As we look at this plan and we sat down with Peter and Lindsey to review it, the big thing that we wanted to say is that this is a projection over 45 years. There's a lot that's going to change through this. The main part is getting things onto paper and seeing what they can do based on those projections. And Peter, being a pilot, definitely understood that. As most pilots know, when you file a flight plan, it's probably going to change as you go from departure to arrival. And so in here too, the big thing that we'll look at as their tax budget continues to grow and they have more income and they're able to spend more on taxes in these early years before retirement, is that we're going to look to fill up that 24% tax bracket, maybe even more. So doing a little bit more. And so this may adjust year to year, which is important because it's not just looking at the long-term projection of a plan. It's also looking at each individual year and making sure that we're still on course to hit these goals that we're projecting out. So all of this combined together, again, we're adding a lot to their wealth over time in more tax advantaged accounts so that they have the ability to control their tax rate in retirement. They can take from different accounts without having to pay taxes on every distribution that they have. I hope you found this video informative and that you can see how the same strategies we use for Peter and Lindsey to maximize their hard-earned money could also be implemented for you. Right now, we're offering complimentary strategy sessions to any of our YouTube viewers who are interested in walking through this process with us. To schedule a meeting with me, all you have to do is scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description. Thanks for watching, and I hope to talk to you soon.